Hi, this is Shep Hyken, and we are on a customer service hangout, and we are with my friend Randi Busse, who has written a great book, Turning Rants Into Raves. I'll give you a little bit of background on Randi. Now, she doesn't look it, as you'll see in a moment, but she's been doing this for over 25 years. That means that she is much older than she actually looks. That's the nice thing to say about a beautiful woman. And she has written this book with the idea that managers, owners, leaders of companies should read this book as a kind of almost a workbook, a blueprint, a process to develop an amazing service strategy that turns rants into raves. Randi, it is great to have you on the Hangout. You ready to hang out?
I'm hanging. Hey,
okay.
thanks,
Well. So, let's go ahead and start. Lots of books have been written about customer service, and as you know, I've written a number of them myself. Well, what's different about yours than mine or anybody else's?
Well, we, and I say we because I did co-write the book with Carol Hetty, who's another trainer and consultant. We decided that if we could illustrate our book and the principles using some characters who represent fictitious employees, and we've named them very appropriately Rant and Rave. And Rant and Rave come to life in our book through a series of comic strips and stories, and it really takes customer service from a 20,000-foot look right down to I'm a customer, you're a customer, we're all customers, we've all had these kind of experiences, what could we do better? And it's been getting some good reviews.
Well, I love it, and it's an easy book to read, which it makes, and there's pictures in the book. I love books with pictures. When I was young and I went to the library and I was told I had to read a book, I always found the book with the most pictures. But seriously, the pictures are appropriate, and as you look through here, there's places to write in, as you start to look at yourself, and you actually refer to these as reflections, time for reflection as to how you're assimilating and interpreting this material. So there's the central message. Obviously, it's focused on customer service. It's focused on getting employees to engage and deliver. And you've got your rant. That's probably the naysayer. You've got the optimistic rave. Tell us a little bit about the theme and what's behind that.
Sure. So Rant and Rave actually represent typical employees that are working in just about any business, whether it's a brick and mortar, whether it's online, whether it's a service business. And Rant represents the employee who's really just there for the paycheck, doesn't really care one way or the other whether the customer becomes a customer, stays a customer, because at the end of the day, they're still going to be getting their same $10 an hour. They're really disengaged. Whereas
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something about Rant? Have you met her before?
Well, it reminds me of a story that Zig Ziglar used to tell many, many years ago about when two guys were working on the line at a railroad, and they were doing labor, and up pulls a limousine, and out jumps the president of the railroad, and as he's walking by, he says to one of the employees that's working so hard, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you," and walks away. And the other employee says, "Wow, you know the president of the railroad?" He says, "Yeah, 20 years ago we started working together." And the other person says, "Well, why are you still here and he's there?" And the response was, "Well, 20 years ago I came to work for a paycheck and he came to work for the railroad." Oh. And I thought that was a cool story to illustrate, total engagement, not focused on the money, but focused on doing a great job.
Absolutely. That's a great story. I never heard that before. I might have to steal it, but I'll make sure that I credit you and Zig.
Don't credit me. And I don't even think I did the story justice. I think it was just a good story, and that's kind of how I remember it.
Okay. Well, and as you said, when you are thinking like an owner of the business, not to say you're not there for the paycheck, because, hey, everybody needs a paycheck in order to pay their bills and feed their family and put a roof over their head. However, if that's the only reason that you're there, and you could be doing that job somewhere else, and you're not really into it, you're not owning your job, you're not owning your position, you're not owning the customers, well, you know what, you might be on the line for 20 years, whereas somebody who is thinking and acting like an owner of the business is always looking ahead, always looking to see how they can do something better, and that person hopefully will get recognized and will move up through the ranks of the organization.
right? I think that that's important. It's you want to get people engaged. One of the books I wrote was called The Amazement Revolution, and in the second strategy or tactic, if you will, was to create a fun environment. F-U-N didn't stand for fun like haha, let's have a great time. It was an acronym for fulfillment, uniqueness, and next. And if you can get employees to come to work for you, the right employees, and I really believe it starts with training. You wouldn't get a rant to work for you if you really had a great hiring process. Or if they turned into a rant, you would probably find a way to move them on or to a different place. But if you found the right people and you could fulfill them and exploit them for their unique talents and get them excited about what's next, they're excited to work with you, and they'll go to the mat for you. They'll do whatever it takes to make you, the company, look good.
And the perfect example of a company that embodies that is Zappos.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
One of their principles is to have fun. And you and I both know their hiring process, they've got this incentive as you're in training. At some point, they offer you a whole bunch of money to quit the company. And
right. $2,000 is what he's at right now.
Thank goodness that person left, because that was the rant employee who maybe was just in it for the paycheck and didn't have their heart and soul that they were willing to put into the organization. So, $2,000 is a small price to pay to, get rid of the person that might infect not only the customers, but also the other employees.
Right. So to sustain that level that Tony Hsieh has created, that culture, you can't have the rants in there. So he's
exactly.
Great example. You talk about the 4 business drivers in the book, the 4 R's. Why don't you elaborate on that? Because I think our listeners would enjoy that.
Sure. And so, these drivers are industry agnostic. I don't care what you're selling, whether it's a product or a service. The 4 R's really drive your business. The first one is revenue, right? And so, we've got to earn the money to keep the business going. The second R is retention. So we want to keep the customers that we have. The next R is reputation. And nowadays when social media allows everybody to have a voice, and really companies don't own their brand anymore, customers do, your reputation is so much more important. And the last R is referrals. And how do you get referrals from your existing customers? And we believe that it's by providing an outstanding service. And so when you look at the 4 R's, revenue, retention, reputation, and referrals, customer service has a positive or a negative effect on every one of those business drivers.
One of the things that we talk about in our business is teaching employees to be flexible, to take ownership, to basically we have this concept. It's not my concept, but I love it. It's 1 to say yes and 2 to say no. You always try to say yes to a customer, and if you have to say no, that's when you go to your manager to get approval. Not to say, yeah, I need to get my manager's approval to do something for you. No, I need to get my manager's approval to not do something for you, which is kind of the reverse of things. But we always tell our clients that they should teach and train their people to understand, what a good decision looks like. And if it doesn't hurt the company financially, if it doesn't hurt the reputation, if it doesn't break the law, and if it's immoral, I believe that these 4 R's that I've just written down that you've explained, number 1, will we lose money as a result of it? That's one of the, will it cost us anything if we do something nice that the customer might be asking for? Will it help retain that customer? Will it add to our reputation? And ultimately, if we take care of the customer in this way, are they going to go out and hopefully refer us to others? I think this is the perfect formula. And actually, I've been looking for these 4 words my entire life. But seriously, this is great. This is train people to understand what these 4 R's are and tell them to make decisions based on those 4 R's, and they have permission and are empowered to do what's necessary to take care of the customer. Powerful concept. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And it just goes back to, again, if you're thinking and acting like an owner of the business, you're always thinking, how is this going to affect the customer? How will it affect them staying with us? And so, you talk about empowering employees, Shep, and I think that sometimes managers and leaders don't give the power to the people. And that's when bad decisions are sometimes made. I think that when employees have a question and they go to their manager and they say, can I do this? I think the best thing that a manager could do is say, well, what do you think? And let them tell you whether they think it's a good idea. Let them justify why they would want to do it. And I think 9 times out of 10, the employee, if they're thinking like an owner of the business, is going to make the right decision. And so when you talk about a small dollar amount, $5, or waiving something or extending a guarantee or a warranty for a couple of days, that shouldn't be something that you have to go to a manager to ask. The employee should be trusted to make those kind of decisions without having to go put the customer on hold or say, I'll be right back. They should be able to make those decisions and have the customer and the company's best interest at heart.
Right, that's the 1 to say yes, 2 to say no concept in action right there.
Yep.
So training, confirmation from your manager or your leader or supervisor, whomever, saying, hey, that was a good decision. Having them ask and reflect back and say, okay, great question. What do you think you should do? Exactly right. We do a program, customer focus program, where every once in a while we'll do an exercise, and we'll get the CEO or the president or whoever the leader of the group is, and I'll have them up on stage, and we'll present a scenario to the audience, and we'll let them, as a group, small groups, work together, and we'll say, okay, what would you do in this situation? And after they share what they plan to do, the CEO or whomever that leader is sitting next to me, he or she says, well, this is what I would do. And many times it's very much similar, if not the exact same thing, to what the different employees came up with. But it's validation, and validation creates confidence, and confidence allows you to go out and make good decisions. All right, you also have broken this book down into 5 principles. Now, not to confuse the 4 R's, that's a technique or tactic, but the 5 principles, share those with us, because those are interesting.
Okay, so the first one we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes, it's think like an owner.
I love that.
Making decisions as if you were the owner of the company. Now, keep in mind, the owner of the company is not going to give free stuff every day to all customers, because that would defeat the purpose of having a business. But they're keeping those 4 R's in mind, and so the decisions that they make are going to be in the best interest of the customer and the company.
So acting, or actually making decisions like an owner. That's
exactly. Exactly. Principle number 2 is build a relationship. And so even if it's one time that you're going to be doing business with a customer, you're more transactional rather than relationship based, there's no reason that you can't get to know that customer and find a way to build rapport and connect with them.
All right, relationship, very good. Building rapport, I love that.
Okay, principle number 3 is remove the roadblocks. And that's about what is getting in the customer's way of actually doing business with us. One of my clients called me earlier on the phone, and before they actually got on the phone, there was a recording that came on the line and said, you have a call. Would you like to accept it? And I thought, I'm not sure that I'm kind of digging that. I feel like I would have liked the person to actually call me and say, hi, this is, Mary from... I'd like to speak with Randy. And so, not to say that that makes it hard, but it was a little off-putting.
It's an extra step.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And so, is that easy for the customer? Because I can imagine some customers thinking it was some sort of solicitation call and not even accepting the phone call.
Right. We talk about something called the effortless experience, or the frictionless experience. And the goal is, how easy is it for a customer to do business with us? And we try to look at all those contact points, those interaction points, and remove any friction that they might have.
Right.
So that's number 4?
That was number 3, but
that was number 3. I lost count. Sorry, I got excited.
That's okay. I want you to take a look, and I'm going to hold this up, and I don't know how good we're going to be able to see this online, but I want you to look at the comic strip that's on the front page of the book.
Yep.
And talk about making it easy. So the woman behind the counter is Rant, and the customer is going to the customer service department, and she's asking to do something, and Rant is telling her, you have to go online for that. Now, if this is the customer service department, why can't Rant help that customer? And so that is a way, that's a roadblock. It should never be you have to go online to do that. If I've got a live person on the phone that's representing the company, I expect you to be able to do anything I ask you to do.
Basically, take out all of the steps that are unnecessary and take care of the customer.
Exactly, exactly. So principle number 4, walk in your customer's shoes. Shep, you're a customer. I'm a customer. We're all customers. If you were the customer, how would you like to be treated? What would you want to hear from the company right now? But I think what happens is we come into work in the morning and we put on our business hat, and so we forget what it's like to be a customer. We forget that people want empathy. They want to be listened to. They want you to do what you say that you're going to do. And so if we walked in their shoes, I think we would wind up providing a better experience for them.
Right. The old adage is walk a mile in your customer's shoes. And the addendum to that is because once you're a mile away, they can't hear anything that you say about them.
I'm not sure that that's the
I don't think that's the intent of your walk in the customer's shoes. I just had to throw that one out there.
Okay, thank you. Don't pay any attention to the man in the gray sweater. Okay, principle number 5, capture your customer's heart. And this is where you're really just going above and beyond, showing the customer how much they mean to you. You know, there's a story about somebody who went to the drive-up teller at the bank, and they were making some sort of withdrawal. The teller asked for their driver's license. And when they got their money back in the envelope, on the envelope it said, "Happy birthday, Mary." And so the teller realized that on the driver's license, it was the person's birthday. And so did they have to say anything and comment on it? No. But who wouldn't feel great that the teller at the bank acknowledged that it was your birthday? So it's about doing things that are above and beyond. It's going to be memorable to the customer.
And how much above and beyond is that really? At the end of the day, it literally took a moment to do that. Seconds, if you will. And sometimes our clients, and we talk to them about this, they handcuff their employees' ability to deliver that type of a personalized statement. They said, look, your job is to take care of the call and move on. Take care of the call and move on. Those kind of metrics don't work. If that person at the drive-up window who worked for the bank, if their job was to get that customer to get out and move on, you know, their job is really, you know, there's 2 jobs that everybody has. One is do what they were hired to do, and the second is to make sure that customer loves doing business with us. And when you put those 2 together, no matter who's working, no matter what the responsibility is, that's their job. Those are 5 great principles. I think any company, any size company, be it a solopreneur, small business, medium business, large company, large enterprise, can definitely get value from this. So I've got a couple more questions before we wrap up, and this one is one that I get asked all the time, so I'm going to ask you the same question. Everybody asks me, how important really is it to deliver customer service? In today's world, aren't people shopping for the lowest price?
Well, you would think by the answers that you get from people that they are shopping the lowest price, and I'll tell you why they're shopping the lowest price. Because they don't see any difference between you and your competitors. And so often the customer experience that you provide is the only competitive advantage that you have. And you and I both know, Shep, that studies have shown that customers are willing to pay more for a good experience. And so if that's not reason enough to go above and beyond to delight your customers, I don't know what is.
Right. So some examples of some great companies that you can think of off the top of your head?
That provide great service. I mean, you know,
that provide great service without providing the lowest price.
Well, you know, have you heard of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel?
You know, you read my mind. Think about it. Because if all you wanted was a hotel room with a TV and maybe a telephone and a bathroom, if all you needed was that bed, you would go anywhere. You would go to the lowest price place. But no, you want a little bit more of an experience, don't you?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And, you know, it's funny because at the Ritz-Carlton, you know, you and I have spoken about them, you know, ad nauseum almost. They don't have rant-like employees working at the Ritz-Carlton.
No.
And they are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And when you talk about how much training and coaching these employees get on a yearly basis, you know, they're not messing around. They understand that what they are selling is an experience that happens to have a bed attached to it.
Right, and you mentioned, you know, the hours and hours of training that is invested in these people. This is an important lesson for everybody watching this. Training isn't something that you did. It's not something that you get when you onboard an employee and then never have to worry about it again. Training is something that you do all the time, re-emphasizing the importance of delivering value to the customer. One of my favorite companies to talk about, which was a feature of one of my books, was Ace Hardware. And I love Ace Hardware because they're not necessarily the lowest price, and they go up against these big box competitors like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, who not only have sometimes a store that's 10 times the size of theirs, but they have the lowest price and more selection. Yet somehow this Ace Hardware store that's a smaller business manages to not just survive but thrive, and they do it because they're in there delivering value. They've got expertise, so when you walk in, they ask, what are you looking for today? And when you tell them, they ask, what are you using that for? Or, you know, some extra question to get some more information, to make suggestions on maybe how to do something better, or maybe save money with a different product, or make sure that they get out of the store without leaving anything and have to come back. I mean, that's what the best companies are doing, and that's exactly what you're talking about. People will pay more for that type of experience. Now, there is a ceiling. I mean, it's not like they'll pay anything.
Right.
But, hey, I've got, just as a side note, I want to throw this one out to you. The ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, Ritz-Carlton Credo. Do you know where that came from?
Do I know where it came from?
No,
I can't say that I do.
Trivia. This is trivia. I don't expect you to know it, but I've been writing about this concept for gosh, many years. I call it a mantra, where you create a one-sentence statement or a phrase, or even down to just one or two words if you can. And I love the Ritz. They're my favorite version of this. They call it the Credo. Horst Schultz was the first president of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Group when it was formed. I mean, there was Ritz-Carltons for years and years, but when they became this bigger group, Horst Schultz was the president. And he's the one who brought the Credo to them. He actually used this as a title in a paper in high school. I believe he was 15 years old when he wrote this paper called "We're Ladies and Gentlemen Serving Ladies and Gentlemen." His parents were in the hotel bed and breakfast type of business, and that was the philosophy that they instilled in him. And then here he takes it all the way out to the employees of the Ritz-Carlton, and it becomes world famous.
Wow, that's fabulous. Who knew?
I didn't know either, but it's funny, when I finally connected with him, he said, hey, by the way, I want you to set something straight in your next book. What's that? Because I've been writing about it, and I said, okay, I've got to tell that story. Well, we are just about out of time, and I always like to wrap up with a simple question, and that is this. What is one extra tip, one idea, something that we can walk away with, that one thing that you want to share with us before we leave today? And by the way, you've shared a number of great ideas here, and I thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm glad we connected in person. I guess it was about a month and a half ago. That was great.
That's right. I'm glad we did also. You know, it's always great to talk customer service with somebody who's just as passionate about it as I am. So here's my one tip that I will leave you with. You know, customers right now are talking about you and your business, and the stories they tell are based on the experience that your employees are providing. So if you've got employees like Rant working for your company, hurry up quick, get them off the phone, get them away from the customers, because you cannot take the chance that they are going to disappoint the customer, and it's going to negatively affect your revenue, your retention, your reputation, and your referrals.
Great, great advice and suggestions from Randi. Hey, this is the book. It is called Turning Rants Into Raves. And tell us how we can find you and the book, Randi.
Well, if you go to that behemoth Amazon.com and type in Turning Rants Into Raves, it is yours for the purchase.
But how can we find more about you and what you do?
Oh,
if we wanted you to come and speak or have a training program, my direct competitor, but I love you and I'm happy to share this with everyone.
You're sweet and I appreciate it. So our company is Workforce Development Group, and the website is devgroup.com, and I think you can see it on the bottom underneath my name, or at least I hope you can.
No, I can't. So go ahead and spell it for us.
WORK, D as in David, E as in Edward, V as in Victor, group.com.
Like work development, but workdevgroup.com.
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, Randi, it has been great hanging out with you. And everybody, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for coming to the Customer Service Hangout. And it's Shep Hyken here reminding you to always be amazing.
And you are.
Thank you.